All right, so let's start with the standard. Who are you? What do you do? And yeah, where do you live slash work?
Hey there, Jason. Thanks for firstly having me on the your new show. I'm very pleased to be here and happy to help out.
Cheers.
Kicking it off to
Mm.
answer your question. My name's Joe Cutler. I work for a company called BMS Performance Australia. You may tell from the accent originally from the UK. However, I've lived over here in Australia for nearly 6 years now, and I'm coming to you speaking from. I live in Melbourne, Australia, in Victoria. What I do, I work for BMS. So I'm an external recruitment company. So I partner with businesses across Australia and help them find talent for their sales vacancies, technical sales roles nationally across Australia. I've been doing it the whole time, seven years in total for the company. Very passionate about what I do, and lucky enough to enjoy my work immensely, I would say.
Yeah. And what got you started in recruitment? Like, were you a salesman before and then got into it, or how'd you get into it?
No, I would say, like a lot of people who start working in recruitment and sales, I'd say very much fell into it. So I got into it as a 22-year-old, fresh graduate, straight out of university. I knew at the time when I finished university, I was very keen to get into the world of sales. I knew I wanted a sales job. How I went about it, I was simply put back when I was living in the UK, googling graduate sales jobs. I applied to a BMS job. I got a call, went in and met with the BMS for an assessment day, thinking I was maybe going down a B2B sales route, and they actually said, "Do you want to work for us?" And I honestly hadn't thought about recruitment. I didn't even really know what recruitment was. But I was, more just, I was like, wow, someone's offering me a job. I'll kind of take it. As a first job, I was just buzzing to have a job, and yeah, so that's how I got into it originally. Very much fell into it, but I was looking for a sales role, so it ticked the boxes there, and that was 7 years ago, and yeah, the rest is history, I'd say.
Yeah, what made you? Because it's not a like I've known a few people who have done that sort of role. Not everyone lasts because it's a fairly. I'm assuming not. Well, every job's got its stresses, but yeah, what made you stick it out and obviously make a career out of it?
Yeah, I'd say a number of things have made me stick around doing it. Firstly, I would say actually the colleagues and teammates I've had over the years make it really worthwhile. I've been lucky enough to work with some great people who I've learned a lot with and shared experience, because it's tough. You lose, it's like I said, any sales jobs. There's ups and downs. There's tough moments, and you very much find you rely on your teammates to lean on in those tougher times, and also share great memories. Christmas parties and nights out, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm very lucky that a lot of my closest friends I've worked with. So I would say the friendships and the people I've worked with is definitely something that has made me stick around. Um,
Yeah.
Second thing, I I've actually used it as a tool to. It sounds a bit cheesy, but become a better person. So I've used it as a tool to improve my life outside of work. So coming into it, as a 22-year-old with no experience or anything, I used it as a tool to build, social skills, how to build relationships with people. I used it as a tool to how improve, negotiation skills, which I can take to outside of life. Outside of work.
Mm.
I used it as a tool, to build resilience. So when moments get tough, the tough times I've experienced in recruitment and the lows I've used to then in personal moments of tougher times as well. So I found I've become a sort of better person throughout it, and that's something that's quite addictive. And that aspect, that part of using my job as something I can be better. It's like, yeah, I've got to keep going. I've got to keep at it. Um, and probably the third thing is the sort of the tangible nature of your work. So in recruitment, I describe when you have a success and when you have a placement, which is the ultimate goal where your work goes to. It's a sort of triple win-win-win. So you get the win, you get the placement, you get the commission, you get the fee, happy recruiter. You fill a vacancy, which was often challenging for a company to find a candidate for a role they might have been looking for a long period of time and a specific person. So they're happy client, and then you find a candidate a new job which might have progressed their career, might have you got them out of an environment where they weren't happy, so they're happy in their new role. So happy candidate, and it's real stuff. It's tangible.
Yeah.
It's tangible stuff. Making an impact. Someone's found a better job, improved their life. I'm not changing the world, but it's small things, which those tangible moments are, a thing that I really love about my job. So
Yeah.
that's the
Well,
main
and it is
things
like
I'd say.
I talk to a lot of people. We spend, depending how dedicated you are, you spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week in your job. So finding someone, obviously, if people are looking for a change and you're happy to help them find a change, that is, yeah, I mean, it is life changing for individuals, which does, that's sort of the theory Jordan Peterson, all these motivational guys talk about is you change people one at a time, you improve the quality of one person's life. That has like the ripple effect. And yeah, so it is, never thought, but yeah, it is win-win-win when you get a success. So what, and I guess the reason I reached out to interview you was I've seen the content you're putting out on LinkedIn. And one in particular was the eating the frog at the start of the day, like doing the most difficult thing. What is that for you? Like, what's the frog at the start of each day?
Yeah, there's probably two ways I can answer, or two frogs that I try and eat at the start of each day. So, for anyone who may not know, the term "eat the frog," I don't know where it actually came from. It's been around for a long time, but it's essentially, do the hardest thing. Don't put it off. Do it at the start of the day to get it over and done with, and it's never as bad as you sort of think it is or think it will be, and you're much better just sort of just sucking it up and doing it at the start of the day while letting it sort of hang over you for the rest of the day. For me, in my job, there's two things I said. One, if I know I'm coming to work and I've got a difficult call or a difficult conversation, and for some people, in some instances, that examples could be if I know that a candidate is really hoping to get a job or an offer, get progressed to the next round, and they're really keen on, but they weren't successful. I know they're going to be disappointed. I don't like making those calls. No one would. I try and get that call, or it could be anything. It could be the client, a candidate's pulled out of an interview, or they've accepted another role, or whatever. Some if it's a call that's not necessarily a happy or a nice call, rather than putting it off, I'll just do it first thing, get it out of the way, and eat that frog. And then the second thing, if I don't necessarily have one of those calls lined up to make, for me, as part of my job is I'm constantly looking to develop and win new business and clients, and from a sales aspect. And for me, I think a lot of people, especially salespeople, put off that new business development, that client development stuff. There'll always be something that's more important. That could be, looking after existing clients, do some admin, post on LinkedIn, whatever. For me, it's the cold calling. So I'll block out a period of time, whatever it could be, from 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning, and I'll just hit the phones. And I know I might get told to, piss off a few times, or I know it's going to be a tough few hours, but I'll put in the reps early and get it out of the way. I enjoy it, to be honest, but yeah, for me, eating the frog is new business development or making those tough calls that not always a great outcome.
Yeah. And how do you go about handling that, delivering that bad news? Like, what's your process? Because that
Honestly,
is that's a skill set in itself. Yeah.
yeah, honestly, it's to say I was giving you, as a candidate, I was giving you the bad news that you weren't successful for a job you were really looking for. Really hoping to get. I would just be honest and transparent, as best as I can. As in, I will endeavour to get as much detailed feedback as to why you weren't successful in the role, or successful at the interview. Firstly, so obviously that feedback would be useful for you moving forward. And then I'm just honest and transparent and saying this is why you weren't successful, and I won't fluff it up. I'll give
Yeah.
it straight. There's no point beating around the bush too much, with that kind of thing. Sometimes it doesn't always go down well. It can just vary from person to person. People, everyone's different when they sometimes react to those kind of news. But I tend to answer your question. I tend to just give it straight and be honest and transparent with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. In your experience, what makes a good salesperson? Like, what are the attributes they have that
Mm.
make them good fits?
For salespeople, I'm lucky enough that I spend because I recruit for them. I speak to sales professionals every day. I speak to sales leaders as well, and I've encountered hundreds over the years of doing this job. It's the question you've asked me is something I'm always thinking about. I was always trying to improve myself as a salesperson as well. So I'm probably just going to spout a bunch of buzzwords at you here, but for me, what I've kind of whittled it down to, I don't think the maybe traditional, idea of what a successful salesperson is. I don't really think it is that that super extroverted, outgoing, often a little bit car salesy. Sell me this pen. To me, in my experience, those that's dated and that aren't, for what I'm seeing, the best salespeople I speak to aren't necessarily like that. They're not the people that are it's not always the loudest person in the room that's the best salesperson. The best salespeople I know are more focused on honing their craft, highly disciplined, as in they show up consistently again and again and again and again, putting in the reps. They're dedicated to developing their crafts. They're constantly looking to learn and develop. They're always highly often critical of themselves. Even if they're performing well, they're always finding ways that they can improve. Um, Another buzzword I think about a lot and what I've seen in great salespeople is the trait of curiosity, just being naturally curious about the world around you, um, questioning everything. So whenever they're speaking to people, they're super interested in that person, finding out what makes them tick, how their business works, rather than just talking about themselves, which is, for me, the wrong way to do it. So, yeah, I would say, and then there's the other things, you've got to be hardworking, you've got to be able to be resilient. And that's something I think is, it develops over time. You don't have these things straight away, but being resilient to setbacks, managing your emotions, because in sales, it's ups and downs. There are days where things don't go to plan, you lose deals, and your ability to bounce back quickly from those losses and shrug them off, again, is another great attribute of what I consider successful and highly high performing salespeople. If that
Yeah.
answers your question, mate.
Yeah. 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 For sure. Because you're dealing with, and as you said, hundreds of different salespeople. I guess for business owners, if they're listening, watching, that's a lot of people I know are business owners. What is the big reason people leave? Like talent leaves an organization. Is it always better money, or is there a lot of other reasons than the money?
Yeah, I would say there are. I've spoken to hundreds of candidates over the years that have left roles or looking to leave roles, and there isn't one reason why they always. Every situation is different. What I would say that the common sort of theme of, well, the majority, some people do just leave for, yeah, you're right. There are just instances where some candidates leave for better money, but the most common reason I see it, I can't remember the exact phrase. I think it's something like people leave managers, not companies, or something like that, is actually the relationship within their business has broken down. So it's not always, oh, I'm looking to leave because I don't like the product I'm selling. That's actually very rare to hear that. It's more of, you know, the culture within the business, their leadership, poor leadership is a massive one. They've been maybe promised the world by their boss, their manager. Maybe that's some sort of commission scheme or progression in the role that just hasn't been delivered.
Yeah.
So I'd say the main reason people leave is the relationship within their current. It's a people's game. The relationship within their organization has broken down, not delivered on promises, and probably bad management or leadership, I would say. But that's maybe just the majority. There are a whole wealth of reasons that the candidates leave job. And for me to say there's one reason, I can't say that.
Yeah, yeah. No, but yeah, it makes sense. The people, everything comes down to
Yeah,
relationships and people.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Just checking through my questions here. Oh, what is? I've taken it from the Joe Rogan experience because your name's so similar. But what's the Joe Cutler experience for? Say I'm a business owner and I say, Joe, I want a gun salesman to actually, there you go, give myself a prompt to sell my
Oh yeah.
book. What can I expect you to do for me?
I would say, look, what the Joe Cutler experience is a whole heap of enthusiasm, a whole heap of energy, a whole heap of curiosity around your business. So I'm going to fully immerse myself firstly in, I'm not just going to pretend to have the solution straight away. My first step is to really do a deep dive into the organization, find out about your business, find out what you're all about, find out the type of people you're going to be interested in, find out about the role, do a full sort of, as I say, deep dive into what you're looking for. And hopefully I do that with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of curiosity, and while having a bit of a laugh along the way.
Yeah.
And then, but that's by the by. My sort of service is results driven, so the proof will be in the pudding. In terms of the candidates that I put forward for, that is my product people, salespeople. And in terms of that offering, I can't always promise results. I can't always promise to find you exactly what you're after or that perfect candidate, because, like I said, I'm dealing with people, and they can be unreliable, or they can not always, they can promise you the world, but they might not show up for an interview. I'll do my best that they do, but so where I'm going with that is you'll get a pretty much round the clock service. I'm available. I work, long hours. I'm into the night. You can text me, call me, and I'll have my teams engaged fully, and they'll be interviewing candidates on your behalf. They'll be screening them based on my initial brief and conversation with you. I'm the main thing around my services is honesty and transparency. So, if we a week or so into the search for that salesperson for your team, I haven't got anyone, I'll be honest and say, look, Jason, I haven't found anyone yet quite what you're after. Whereas mistake I have made in the past is, and I imagine other recruiters have, is to send candidates for the sake of it, that they know gut feel aren't going to get the job or aren't quite right, but they're looking to prove that they are trying to fill the role, which I don't think is the right way to do it. If you don't have someone, just be honest and transparent, and that communication between myself and you as a client is critical. So I'll be honest and transparent in that communication, and then from there, manage the process all the way through. For interviewing, I'll set that up. Feedback, even if the candidate joins, we stay in touch. I'll be taking feedback on how they're getting on, and I'm here for the long term. I've been doing this job for 7 years, so if I'm not looking for a quick win, a quick placement, and see you later. On to the next one. I'm going to be around for long term. So that's the
And
I would say
because
Joe Cutler
reputation would
experience.
be, yeah. Well, that's a good way to package it. Yeah. Because reputation in recruitment, well, from the business side especially, like there'd be some businesses that obviously hate recruiters. They're more likely the businesses that have a culture problem or an issue that they're losing staff. So what's the other side of the experience from a candidate's point of view? Because it is salespeople. I mean, I've been in sales most of my life, business development / sales. What's the experience from that side? Because it is always a nerve wracking position to be in when you're currently working for someone, but actively looking and obviously, not wanting to make that known. How's that? How do you find that? And how do you handle those relationships?
Yeah, the candidate experience is, again, it's pretty similar. It's more, when we find a candidate that might be suitable for a role or might be suitable for the potential type of roles we work on, rather than picking up the phone and just ramming a job down their throat straight away, it's more, we try and myself and my team try and get to know the ins and outs of the candidate first. So found your CV, came across your profile, whatever, potentially looks a fit for one or two things we're working on. I'd love to find out a bit more about your situation, how I might be able to help. And from there, we will do a little phone call, phone screen, and then every candidate will be interviewed and vetted on as a minimum a video call, a video interview with us. So we will make the effort to really understand the candidate's background, what they've done, what they've sold, who they've sold to, right down to percentage against target, all the details that allow us to arm ourselves with the knowledge that we can sell that candidate into our clients. And we'll also really aim to understand what they're looking for in the next role, because that's crucial. What the ideal opportunity looks like in terms of what they want to be selling, who they want to be selling to, the package, the location, whatever. Only from there will we speak to you about job opportunities, because we want to try and understand your situation first, and then because we might have on paper a role in mind based on their CV or whatever, but following a conversation with them, it might not be right. So the
Yeah.
candidate experience is really trying to understand what they're after, and then again, it's that honest and transparent communication where I try and push my team and myself to operate with candidates and say, look, even if we don't have any roles, look, based on what you said, we don't have anything at the moment. We're going to keep in
Yep.
touch though. We've had this conversation, and it's not about. I think there's a lot of undelivered promises in recruitment. Yeah, we can definitely help you. We're gonna have loads of roles for you, and trying to fit square pegs in round holes all of the time.
Yep.
That's not how you build. As you going back to what you said about credibility, you lose that quite quickly in recruitment if you're not listening to what a candidate is after, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. What would you say? What's your top? Do you have a single or maybe a top two success stories? Or is
In
every time you get a placement like well, it's obviously a win-win-win.
Yeah, I mean, some placements you look back on, I guess, fonder than others, and some sort of mean more to you than others. I would say just some examples. There's one customer of mine that I've placed the whole sales team, and I've been working with them
Yep.
for probably 5 years now. And in their particular space, they are now number one in the market. They're a market leader,
Yeah.
and I like and that's because their sales team are out there performing, all doing well. And I've placed 4 or 5 people with that business across the country over the years, and it's because those salespeople having success that they're now the number one. And it's just kind of cool to think that started with a cold call. And I cold called the national sales manager 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And then now, and it's like because I picked up the phone and cold called that guy 5 years ago, that company. I know it's nothing major, but like in that particular space, they're
It
now
is.
number
Yeah.
one because of
Yep.
a cold call 5 years ago and the work I've done since. So that's just one example, and I'm quite proud of. There are others, I've done sort of creative work on LinkedIn. I've managed to approach a candidate. I sent them a really tailored video message that spiked their interest. They ended up getting a role. It was a big fee progression for that candidate. That was last year. That's just something that came to my head. That's something because honestly, sometimes the candidates do just land in your lap, or you
Yep.
just happen to you just get lucky and you have a client will get. I'm looking for this type of background I'm looking for this type of person in Brisbane on this money, and I met that person last week, and
Yep.
you get a bit of luck, and you feel a little bit like, okay, that wasn't. I didn't really do anything special there. I just happened to have it. The ones where you really have to put the reps in, or it's like anything. It's like this is a sporting analogy. If those those tough wins where you just edge out the opposition, you might get a 1-0 win or something like that. They always feel sweeter than a 5-0 walkover. And it's the same in
Yep.
recruitment. When you've placed, if you know the company's really difficult, or they're looking for something really specific, or you had to have a really tough call to win the business in the first place, you're always more proud of those, down the track. And then going back to what I was saying right at the start of this chat around the tangible stuff, there
Mm.
are placements I'm proud of because, like, I know I placed a guy last year in a construction business in Sydney who he knew the candidate was very unhappy in his current role, and to going back to, we're talking about sort of, changing people's life, placed him in a role where he's now thriving and really happy in a much better culture, etc. It's like, if I hadn't done that, then he might still be there. Who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah, there's some examples of my, so hopefully
Yeah.
hopefully some of the
Well,
good
no,
work
and I
I
was
do.
going to say, because you obviously don't like bragging too much, which is as you said, the good salesman is the humility, knowing you're not that good. But the easy win, and in my experience as well, the easy wins, they're not really luck. They're from, like you said, you've been making those calls every day, you've been putting it out there. So every now and then you can call it luck, but it is really because you've been doing those reps every day. So it falls in your lap, and yeah, it looks coincidental, and you might feel a little guilty taking the
Yeah,
commission for what seemed like a 5-minute job, but it's those 6 years of you learning how to do that job so well that has culminated in that. And I think, and a lot of salesmen, because I get the same thing, is you realize, no, I've done all the work and I still deserve like the easy win, as you called it.
yeah.
But it's yeah,
Yeah, you're right. I think it is a quote I like, the Gary Player quote. The I don't know if you know that, the ex golfer, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
yep,
So basically, the harder I practice, around the golf course, the more luck I get when I'm actually playing the
yeah,
rounds. And I love it, to be honest. It is. I think it is somewhat. I don't know the science, whatever behind it, but I do feel the harder you work, the luck. Just on the topic of luck, the luckier you get. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah. No, and the other one, I think the other quote is, it's when the expert comes to fix a machine or something, and they walk in and they tap it and they send the bill for $10,000. They're like, "What, mate? It took you 2 minutes." He's like, "Yeah, but
Yeah,
it took me 25 years to know where to tap it." So it's
yeah,
not you're not paying. You want to pay the itemized bill? Here it is, 25 years of
yeah.
experience
The
to know where
customer's
to
more
tap it.
like they're more initially pissed off. They had to, like, well, hang on, I've just paid you that, and it took 2 minutes. But they would be
Yeah,
more justified to pay half of that if someone took an hour. But then when they
yeah,
flip it to what you've just said, oh yeah, it makes
yeah.
sense.
No. Well, coming to the end of the time, but where can people go to learn about you? Ideally, engage your skills if they're looking for salespeople. I know every business owner I know is always looking for a good salesperson. So where can they find you and hook up with you?
Yeah, so I do talk a lot of nonsense on LinkedIn. I'm active on there. So Joe Cutler on LinkedIn, if you want to connect with me on there, and yeah, see what I'm all about. I tend to talk a lot of anything sales, recruitment, leadership, business kind of stuff on there. And if you're looking for salespeople for your business, I would love to see how I could potentially help you out. And also, I do host. If you want about me, I'm not sure if anyone would want to find out more about me, but I do host my own podcast as well, Hiring and Inspiring, where I have a different guest on each week and like to learn about what they do. Again, like loosely based on anything sales, recruitment, business, leadership, personal development. Yeah, you can check that out as well if you wanted to find out a little bit more, a longer version of myself.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'll link that in the show notes. No, awesome. Well, thanks for chatting to me, Joe.
Jason, thank you very much. Been a pleasure thanks for having me on. Been a pleasure to chat, and all the best with the new show.
Thank you.